or are we not working today? All right, one more time to get Facebook to load. Oh, every day is like a brand new day, I swear. I've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, and I still keep finding new ways to find myself struggling. But we're here. We here. We in here. We out here. However you want to look at it. We're somewhere. All right. What's up? What's up? What's up? Coach Bruce back in the studio, showing up again because I want to talk to my ADHD dads. Like, I feel very passionately that I have something to share with you that I can help you get unstuck in your life because I have been there and it is absolutely not fun. Um, Being alive and engaged in your life is, if you need to hear this, it is a much better way to live. It is. And you can choose that life not just through me. You can choose that by choosing it. You have to make a decision to do what it takes to show up in your life and engage in it with passion and purpose. It doesn't just happen. It's not going to happen. What happens is it will just stop happening if you're not paying attention. Before you know it, you will have been a person who had all kinds of passion and purpose, and you'll go 5 years down the road and find out that you've lost your you've lost your way, and you're living a life that isn't for you anymore. So you're not excited about it anymore. You wake up dreading all different parts of it, and that just happens. It doesn't reverse on its own. It takes work from you. It takes commitment. It takes a plan, and it might take guidance. Like that's that's your own decision, but it definitely takes commitment and it takes work. So I encourage you to start the process to re-engage in your life. It's not theoretically hard. Like there's no like physical effort to it necessarily, but I mean there might be for you, but whatever you consider to be purpose, but it's much more making the right choices, showing up, giving yourself the right things to believe in. That is much more what it is about. So I've been going over the top 10 struggles for ADHD dads, in my opinion, and how I would coach them. We've gone over so far making things bigger than they are, hyperfixation, self care, time management, emotional regulation, follow through, and masking. Um, if you are interested in any of those topics, go back on YouTube or Facebook. I've got all the lives posted. And, you know, I have to say there's some pretty interesting topics there. Whether you like my take on them or not, that's up to you. Like I'm putting the information out there, and if you find value in what I'm saying, then please take it. If you don't, then keep on trucking, man. Like I'm not for you. and that's okay. That is something that I've found in my journey is acceptance that I'm never going to be for everybody. And thank God. Like, I don't want that. I have no desire to be for everybody anymore. And that's something I used to try to do. Like, that was a big part of my masking component was I was always trying to be for everybody, even people I didn't like. Like, why would you try to be something that somebody you don't like wants? It doesn't even make any sense. But whenever you get so separated from your values, beliefs, goals that you don't know what they are anymore, you just want to feel good. So you get dependent on feelings and emotions, and there's no foundation. There's nothing to ground you anymore. It's just like, what feeling am I going to chase after right now? And it's a dangerous place. It is a very mercurial thing, and I found myself in some dark places because of it, and that's why I'm so passionate to help other dads, because I don't want anybody to get to where I got before I woke up and realized that everything that I loved was at risk of being lost. Like, that's how serious it is. Like, my life was almost completely destroyed, and the complete destruction, like the buildup happened without me having any idea. And then within 3 weeks, I went from thinking everything was completely fine to being on the edge of divorce. And that was completely my fault. So don't do that. Ask for help. Take help when it's offered. Make changes. Be responsible. Have a plan. Have a foundation. Know what you're trying to do and where you're going. Like, where do you think you're going to get if you don't know where you're trying to go? A, nowhere. B, somewhere you don't want to be. I mean, there is the option that you accidentally happen upon a great destination, but man, I feel like that's pretty risky to just gamble with that. So, anyways, today we are talking about engaging in non-interesting topics, uh, situations, activities. It's really funny because I was in the middle of doing, my work project, building out funnels, which is like super. It's like my thing right now. I'm super interested in it. I could talk about it all day. I'm trying not to all the time now. That is me putting a filter on my ADHD because my awesome isn't for everybody all the time. So sometimes I want to, I'm talking to people here to try to provide value. And not everybody wants to value about funnels. I'm here to talk to ADHD dads about how to engage in purpose. Funnels is one way that I'm engaging in purpose. But anyways, I'm deep into my project, making like just massive moves today. Like, just super proud of my progress, loving it. Look at my time, and I'm like, oh, I need to get ready for my live. And then I was looking at my notes. I was like, what am I talking about today? And engaging in non-interesting topics popped up, and I was like, that doesn't sound fun. And I literally started laughing out loud because I wasn't interested in talking about non-interesting topics, and I just found that to be tickling. I was I was cleverly pleased with the irony there that I didn't want to talk about something that wasn't interested in talking about. And it's not even I'm not interested in talking about it. I was just super into my project. So very little sounded interesting at that moment. It's like, oh, I just want to keep working. But the thing is, what I'm working on is to find and serve people like you. So if you're watching this, like, I'm trying to build something that's going to help me find more of us who I can help. And, you know, like I've said, bridge back to where I was whenever things were really bad for me to where I am, and hopefully propel them far beyond me, because I know that, like, I am far from there. I know that I have not arrived at my final destination, and I believe that my final destination is not on this earth. So my plan is to just keep growing and keep building that bridge further and further, higher and higher up, and hopefully helping other ADHD dads get farther down the road than me, and maybe once they get much further down, they can help build a bridge back towards me. That's what community is supposed to be like. We may not really understand that anymore because community is not a big thing for us, but I still believe in it, and I still believe in trying to help people and trying to provide something of value and leave this earth better than I found it. So this is how I'm doing that. Anyways, so I've been dancing around the topic of the non-interesting for a while now. If I were to coach a ADHD dad who was having trouble engaging in things that they just weren't interested in, I like to talk a lot about the career based because I think it's, it takes up such a large portion of most of the ADHD dads I know. They spend so much time at work that I like to talk about that a lot because that's when they're dealing with a lot of this stuff. And even some of them who don't work quite as much, they're still like that's still where the majority of their stress is. Um, I mean, not the majority, but like the lion's share. So that's the same thing. I would say let's switch up my career speak and talk a little bit about the home and family. Let's say this is story time. Um, Whenever I was not really a new dad anymore, but I had two kids, maybe like two, third on the way. My oldest two got into Pokemon cards, and they were like super geeked about it. This was like a so I no, I'm sorry, I had three kids by this point because one of them, my oldest was at least 7, and my youngest was 4. Uh, there's just Pokemon cards all the time, and I just didn't like. I hated them. I was so over the Pokemon cards. They were just this big mess. They were just like every time Pokemon cards came out, I knew that I was going to get like 3,000 names I could never remember, like quizzes tossed at me, and then all the cards were going to end up on the floor. And the way I handled this at the time was like I can't remember exactly how I phrased it, but I remember that it was pretty shocking because my wife did not react well. I basically said to my oldest, like, it's important that you talk to other people about things that they're interested in. Like, I feel like that's way too nice. I feel like it was like, be more interesting. But I can't really picture myself saying that either. But it was something between those two things, and it was really a oh my gosh. So I just got a comment on my in my live here, and it's another person trying to push microdosing. Like that's the only comments I'm getting. So if you are a human being who actually cares about ADHD dads and isn't trying to sell uh, your psilocybin microdosing, please comment. Like just throw a comment in the chat so I know that I'm not just like my 12 views over time isn't just uh, LSD salesman. Anyways, so I hit my oldest daughter with a be more interesting. And, thinking back now, that breaks my heart because I was unable to see past myself. I didn't, as much as like I cared about, I cared about my family, loved my family very much. But whenever it came to conversation, activities, um, just overall being alive together, I was number one. And that was something that happened again on accident because I didn't have a foundation. I didn't have a plan. Like I'd been a religious person earlier in my life, and like I completely just sprung back against that religion and just had like no basis whatsoever. I was just like, nothing's gonna control me. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna free wing it. What is it? I'm just gonna wing it. I'm just gonna wing it from here on out. I'm gonna be a gunslinger. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And as fun as that was for the college years, whenever I became an adult, it just left me lost. And this be more interesting situation was one that wasn't a solo thing. I was often minimizing other people, the things that were important to them, the feelings that they had because they didn't fall in line with serving me. Like that was the number one driving thought in my mind is, how do I feel? What is this going to do for me? And that goes again back to whenever you don't have a foundation and you're being manipulated by the feeling in the moment, you are going to find yourself betraying everything that is actually important to you. Like my feeling in the moment is nowhere near as important to me than the growth and nurturing of my children. But I didn't have a plan for that. I didn't have a benchmark for that. So the way I behaved said I didn't care about that because I didn't have a plan. And that that's what happens. Like that hurts. It doesn't feel good to think about. But I've learned to have grace with my past self because that person is still me. Even though I've developed so much, I've evolved and I've grown. That's it doesn't feel like the same person, but I know that that's still me, and I have to have accountability for that. Like I did that. That was me. That wasn't somebody else. But also I did the things to grow and become a better father and become a better husband. And so as much as I can take credit for doing that, I have to be accountable for what I did before. And I've tried to spend lots of time and conversations trying to rebuild that relationship with my children. And like I don't feel like they hate me or anything. I think my kids generally like me pretty well, but I know that's those scars are always going to be there even if they're hidden. They're always going to be part of the framework of what they're shaped by. And there's that's not of any fault of their own. And unfortunately there's nothing I can do about that. Like I would love to be able to fix the things that I did poorly whenever I didn't have a plan, or whenever my plan was to just get smashed all the time in my very early years. Um, so sometimes having a bad plan is just as bad, if not worse, than having no plan. But yeah, unfortunately, you can't go back. You can't fix those things. All you can do is recognize what you've done wrong in the past and move forward in a way that tries to avoid it happening again. That allows you to make better decisions and more positive impacts in people's lives. Um, and if that's important to you, then you have to have a plan that's going to allow you the the guidelines to do that. So if I could have talked to myself back then, I would have said, "Wow, that was pretty harsh what you said. I accept where you are right now, but I think there's a lot of growth for you to do, a lot of growing for you to do, because what we've established now is that your family is important to you. We're not going to beat you up for what you've done, but we have to be accountable for the fact that behavior like that doesn't doesn't show that you care about your family. And if you have something that you've defined as important, you just have to act that way. You can't be concerned about how you feel in that moment. If it's important to you, it has to be important to you always, and you have to act that way. Because if you let emotion carry you from day to day, you are going to lose your way again, and before you know it, you're going to lose your family. And I don't want that for anybody. So apologize, forgive yourself, learn from it, and move forward. Accept, grow, repeat. Accept, grow, repeat. That's a never-ending cycle of the strong dad. You're gonna make mistakes. You're absolutely gonna make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, then you're not trying. So make mistakes. The blueprints for the successes lie in the failures. So make your mistakes. Do it. Just like be a parent, be a husband, be a father, be be engaged in life. Doing nothing is leaving no to no memory to a bad memory to a terrible memory. Like I remember my dad's lack of presence in my life, except for when he showed up and tried to do all the parenting at one time, and it was extremely aggressive and negative. Like that's all I remember about my childhood. There's very, very few happy moments because he was so focused on making money and not being poor that he wasn't around. And when he was around, he was too tired to be engaged. So I don't want that for you. Don't do that. Um, all right, I'm gonna wrap it up there for today. I've had one viewer in Twitch the whole time. Thanks for rocking with me. Um, would love it if you'd comment in the future because you know at some point before this is over, I would love to just do like a live conversation. I know that sounds wild. It's crazy, but I think that would be fun. Um, yeah, so that's my coaching for engaging in the non-interesting. I could say so much more about taking that to work and how it would benefit you to just learn. Like here, I'll make one statement. Whenever you would transfer this to your career, um, being uninterested in an asset or an aspect of your job is not a good idea for you because the way we disengage with things that we're not interested in is pretty heavy. Like that's the ADHD man is going to really pull back from those things and kind of do them begrudgingly, and it is not hidden as well as we think. So what I suggest in this situation, instead of thinking about the thing that you don't want to do that's uninteresting to you, find a part of it that interests you. If it is, oh man, we have to go sit through uh, another finance breakdown. That sadly, that sounds terrible. Instead, say, oh, we get to go to the office that has a great AC. That's stupid, but it's something. Or, oh, hey, this is the only time I get to talk to my buddy from sales that I never get to see. So I'll get there 5 minutes early and see if I can chat with him for a little bit. And I'll try my best to, stay engaged. So whenever it's done, I'm not like half asleep and missing out on the conversations that are going to happen afterwards. It's just trying to find an in. Like if we can find an in to be interested in something, then we can get engaged in it. Like just like create your in. Don't just focus on the big bad thing you don't want to do. Think about all the other aspects there are also to it, and try to hook into one of those things, and just focus on that. Like maybe not hyper focus because you probably need to pay attention to the other thing too, but focus on it so the other thing happens as well, and you're just trying to enjoy the thing that you love about it. All right, that's it for talking about engaging in the non-interesting. Um, I will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. doing the same live thing. I am working really hard to put together a coaching package that is going to really blow some people's minds because I feel like there are people out there that I can serve who feel like they don't know what they could get out of a coaching package. And so I'm trying to really like build something that's gonna like smack them in the face with value and have them say, "Ooh, I do need that. Like that would absolutely help me." And those are my people. Those are my ADHD dads because they are struggling. They need help engaging. I can help them, but for one, I need to find them and I need them to identify themselves so they can get this good service. All right, everybody. Until next time, be yourself and love yourself. I'll see you tomorrow night.